Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today's fairly spontaneous episode is about self-worth. And I've had all sorts of relationships with this idea, I think, over time. But if I go right back to sort of pre-burnout, there was definitely something about my career, that was how I saw my worth. That if I was ploughing up the career ladder, if I was getting more and more promotions, if I was getting further and further on, that's where my worth came from. And I know I'm not the only person who feels like their value, their worth has something to do with how much money they're earning, where they are in their career, whether how far they've got by a particular age. I have a lovely client who I sometimes talk to who has placed so much pressure of that she's actually left work because she couldn't no longer stand the perceived judgment of other people around whether she'd got far enough in her career. So that it's massive, I think, for us, and maybe I think it's massive for everybody, but maybe for women who are having breaks to have children, or doing things like that, and thinking that our value in the world is to do with where we're working, or what we're doing for a job, or how much money we're earning. I mean, that's just not healthy, I don't think, really, to think that we only have value based on the amount of money we earn or anything like that. So that's probably, I suspect strongly that pre-burnout, that continual drive to be at the next career level, the thing that happened was, each time I got to the next point in my career, I think I had this initial euphoria of feeling amazing and maybe feeling a little bit more worthy, but then it didn't last because that feeling of worth could never have come from my job, or where I was in my career. So it didn't last. It wasn't sustained. And that, wasn't, it meant that I drove on to the next point in my career and the next point in my career in an attempt to feel worthy. Now, I obviously, when I burnt out and left work and became, my first business was as a hypnotherapist. Again, it became, then I think my worth was very wrapped up in how much I got done. Like, I was only worthy if I got all these things done on my list, that I got all my goals met, that I did everything that I'd planned to do, and there was no letting up on that. And so that became another driver. Well, my self-worth is now about how much I get done in my business, about how many clients I've got, how much money I'm making. But actually not really that as much as this. It wasn't really about the money. There was something about productivity, that if I wasn't producing enough, doing enough, showing up full of motivation every day, that meant I wasn't worthy and I wasn't good enough. Because I think those two things are quite closely linked, aren't they? The sense of worth and feeling like we're good enough, or we are enough in any way. I did a session ages ago about the word enough, actually, which is yet another word that we attach a lot of meaning to. And I had a real Something's fallen away now, because there's something here about seeing that my worth as a human being, I mean, it just doesn't exist. It can only come from thought, the idea of me having enough self-worth or not. And I have to say, like, as I think about it now, because this session was very spontaneous this morning, as I think about it now, I think, oh, I don't really care. Not in an unpleasant way, but when I think, oh, am I worthy, or am I enough, or where's this thing called self-worth? I just think, oh, I just feel okay with myself, really. And that doesn't seem to have anything to do with what I'm doing, producing, have created, have made money-wise, that suddenly that's fallen away. I'm not really sure how. It just seems to have fallen away over it. Well, I do know how, really. I think it's by being in this conversation that I share with you, that now I don't really have a sense of my self-worth. I mean, because I don't need one, do you? Like, do you need one to show up in the world and have a great life? Do I need to be checking in? Oh, how worthy do I feel today? Well, I tell you what, if I don't think about that and I don't care about it, well, I'm okay, aren't I? Just get on with my life. I think there's so many things, like, we could probably spend years, if not longer, long time in therapy and exploring our self-worth, and do we think we're worthy, and is that okay, and are we okay, and do we have enough self-worth, or we could do loads of work on that. I know there are affirmations out there. If you have one, please do share it with me. But we have, we could do a lot of work on that, couldn't we, to try and somehow create this thing called self-worth. But I kind of think, what is it even? It's got to be some thinking one way or another, hasn't it? And I think actually that what I'm feeling right now, quite emotionally actually, is that maybe the freedom is not even caring whether you've got self-worth or not. Maybe that's where the freedom is. Like, to not be thinking about yourself and whether you're okay, and do I feel good enough about myself? Have I got enough self-worth? Because then there's nothing to do except get on with having a nice life. And that seems to me to be quite a lovely thing to do, to just get on and have a nice life. Maybe we don't need to have all this, I mean, it's that word self again, isn't it? Like, my self-worth, my self-concept, this idea that there is even a self that is anything other than passing thought. Maybe we don't need to have an attachment to any of that. Maybe we don't need to think about how we are all the time. Because I have to say that in the last 2.5 years, that's what's been transformational. I've stopped working on myself. I'm like the rebel here, because I have conversations with people about well-being, and they talk about looking after your well-being. People talk about looking after your self-worth. I'm just trying to find my tissues. Taking care of yourself, and all these things to do with well-being. And that is what I've stopped, because I have little or no interest in how this thinking stuff's doing, because it's the less energy I seem to apply to it, the more it seems to just go. If I have a low self-worth thought, well, then I have a low self-worth thought, and the less attention I give it, the more likely it is to off. I won't swear on a live recording. Just even the concept of a worth of a person, underneath all that thinking about whether we're worthy or not, we're God, the energy of life, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And what is more worthy than that? We are this conduit for power to come through, for intuition to come through, for wisdom to come through, for love to come through. What's more worthy than that? I don't think there can be anything more worthy than that. But our thinking about it, thinking about our worthiness or not, that seems a bit pointless, really. A bit too much like hard work for me these days. So I think that's something to be aware of. Like, do we need all these self-concepts? Maybe we're just all perfect exactly as we are. It's worth thinking about, but not too much. Not too much thinking. Never too much thinking.
Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.